right, well, today just seems to be M80 doing M80 things, and that includes winning, including on TSM's map pick of Sunset to be kicking off the series. I mean, Vance, over there, you're shorter. It's just, all right. But you know who's standing tall? M80. They made it through the upper bracket. They're looking good on the day, and yeah, it's good stuff coming up from the squad.
100%. M80 is looking pretty clean on this game as well. I think it's all on. We mentioned it before. TSM. It's surprising that you want to get into a map of Sunset where, you know, it's not necessarily your best showing or the best map that you potentially have in your pool, but because you have the confidence in the win that you had against Oxygen, you may have a chance here to beat M80 and beat them to their game, and knowing and having tape on how M80 plays, you might have a chance to fight back. But holy crap, did they shut down Sim at this point around, when we praised on how much value Sim was able to bring here to TSM on a map like Sunset in their previous games. He had no way of being able to fight back in that moment.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing as you, Van. Sim has just been more than crucial to the TSM success on this map, finding a lot of opening kills sometimes without even having setup, just taking a well-timed duel and winning it. Was not able to do that against the phenomenal teamwork on display from M80. And I mean, obviously one number on screen really sticking out, which is the first kills dominance in that department from M80, and a lot of that because of Koala Noob.
If it wasn't for TSM winning pistol round, the anti-eco, and then in the second half even converting their bonus, this potentially could have been like a 13-2 or something like that, because it looks really good as soon as M80 had the money rolling. They had a sound plan from the very beginning. Even how they played the defensive side, it really caught TSM off guard, where you're having these pushes coming out towards B main or whatnot, and it's you had GMD alone on B main as well. So everything that they were trying to do for TSM to try to catch up on their attack side was just shut down all the time.
Yeah, I want to call back to an earlier round, but one of the later rounds actually in the match here, Vance, and talk about it too. Talking about one of these attempted pushes and how M80 just able to just going forward.
Yeah, and exactly that. So just a couple of seconds before this action happens right here, TSM went for their tried and true that we know that they like to do here on the A side, which is just going for relay bolts rather, getting the one way and getting positioned towards the main. And on the contact that Sim would get, they could just flood and fight and thrive in the chaos. But what do you do here? And that's what Wyatt was talking about too at the beginning of this game. How do you fight against here the A side control on the attack side for TSM, and even on the defense for TSM? So what does M80 do? They stay on the side, they wait off the smoke, they position the Nismo back into a side for a fault line. It separates both players, and then you have 4 players doing 4 versus 1s against the 2 players of TSM. And that again shows the teamwork that M80 is bringing versus the individuality of TSM and winning those fights.
And that's something that M80's always been good for, that even if someone's not necessarily stepping up on the day, they always have that teamwork, they always have that coordination that they can rely on. And then if somebody is stepping up and popping off, well, then all of a sudden this becomes an impossible team to look through. And this is where I want to circle back to talking about Koala Noob and this Yoru, Wyatt, because this was a pick too that Koala Noob, I mean, Yoru talks is big numbers, that Koala Noob and this Yoru is just looking insane.
Absolutely phenomenal from him. The defensive play, the opping with the Yoru, I don't really see many other players be as talented with the op on this agent. The gate crash repositionings after taking that initial contact and initial aggressive push with the weapon and then falling off to play another line, always so well timed, and has such a knack for picking the right spots, the intuition of where to find the picks and then reposition. Just so good. The stats that he's got on this agent across the playoffs we're seeing right now are just ridiculous. 47.6 first blood percentage. That is how often he gets the first blood into a round. Half the time, there's 9 other players in the server. Like, that's crazy.
Doing such a good job on the defensive side and on the offensive side. You just saw it in that highlight in that round 21 when he's in his ult, and that ult is good enough to just make, like, usually when you're playing Yoru, the first thing you're thinking about when this agent first came out is, hey, I'm going to go in my ult and I'm just going to ping where the opponents are, and you just spam through the smoke or spam, and then just get kills. but he sets himself up with help from Nismo. So from seeing the 3 players, the fault line is perfect to hit all 3. He chimes in with a flash that I Hold Shift was talking about earlier, and then now is able to come out with the first blood on top of that and create more space. So again, utility is very good, his opping is very good, and a key component into the whole gameplay of how M80 approaches the teamwork of the map.
And those stats were just from that last map, but I don't think we'll get to add to the Yoru map stats going on forward, because looking into our next map, M80, it's definitely a little bit of a different look, something that they've had played a few times now. But we're looking ahead at Lotus, and we're looking ahead at the potential of this triple Senti coming back on out. And when we look back at the first time they debuted this triple Senti comp, Wyatt, it was TSM that they debuted it against, and TSM kind of crumbling a little bit against it. This was a really, really unique pick, and it was a lot of fun. So are they bringing it back? Are TSM ready for it? I got a lot of questions going into this.
Yeah, that's a tough comp to suddenly run into. No other team is playing it. And so you're going to just be diving headfirst into setups that you're going to have to figure out in the moment, which is incredibly tough when you're dealing with all of the tripwires, Sage utility. But now, after having that experience and seeing other teams play against it, you can expect where Koala Noob is going to be putting the barrier orb, the moments where he's going to be running on top of it when they go for a C hit, for example. You know, how they're going to use the walls when they are on attack, hit a site, and put them up so it's up to retake. And contrasting that on defense, when retaking, putting the walls up to cut some of those angles off so they can defuse the spike. Like, there are timings that TSM should be aware of now as to how to play around it that they just weren't aware of the first time because they had to figure it out in the moment, and that's really tough.
And that's the funny part too, though, because TSM were the guinea pig, right, of this composition for M80, and M80 got the best out of TSM. But then when you're looking at the further matches for it, what are you laughing about, Wyatt?
Bro, I can't take you. I can't take this analysis seriously from you down there.
Wait, what are you looking
I'm
at?
trying really hard to listen to the words that you're saying,
but okay, I'll TLDR it. You would think that after that first game, and M80 keeps playing that map on Lotus, that other teams understand how to play against it and want to fight against that. But I feel that so many teams still give them way too much space when M80's taking the attack side. So the scaling's a lot easier that they're able to pull up here for M80 because they're able to death ball. You talk about all these walls here, Wyatt, that they're able to do here on these executions because they don't need to use too much utility to scale up on the map. I need to see defensive teams being a little bit more aggressive and proactive on the defensive side just to make sure that you don't allow M80 to death ball that quickly and that well.
I mean, I'm hoping that I can't look at Van's camera anymore. Every single time I'm about to absolutely lose it. I'm looking at TSM to see kind of the evolution that they've gotten to show us throughout this playoffs, and if this can be the map where they really kind of step things up. They have tape. They've played firsthand against this triple Senti comp. They know what they need to do. So Wyatt, I'm looking into this and I'm looking for that teamwork that they've gotten to show us, that they've been talking about things clicking to really come alive now, and see if they can be putting up this fight against M80 to take us into this map 3.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be really important for defense to be able to disrupt that site exact as it's coming in before the spike is planted. MXS against M80 had a lot of success with setting up really fast floods before those walls could come up to deny a retake. I think that's going to be crucial. And then on the opposite side, on attack, M80 were definitely looking weak on defense when it came to their C-site holds. That's where Oxygen were really exploiting them. There was sort of a disconnect between Nismo and Net holding the site in that game. So those are kind of the two factors on either side that I'm looking at for TSM to exploit. Or on the inverse, maybe M80 can just clean that stuff up and look pretty much unbeatable here.
We'll have to see, but first off, our Zippo agent select, so we can get the confirmation of this sweet triple Senti comp of M80 and what TSM want to be doing from across the board. It kind of looks like changes.
Yeah, that's right.
Looking back, yeah, no, we're good. This is gonna be a fun one, Vance.
Yeah, and that's why I was saying maybe like a Fate and a Raze would be pretty good to like stop the the slow scaling that comes up because the Fade Seas can get a lot, but you could still do the same thing with Poise and Sim on the double concusses, keeping that same type of composition and yet also being able to be very explosive on top of that as well. So hopefully with this comp, they'll still want to fight against M80 and hopefully get some value out of this.
All right, well, we'll have to see. Can TSM unlock the secret to taking down this map? Will they take us to a map 3? Will Vans get even shorter until you see him next? I don't know, but back over to our casters, Shift and Uber for game number 2.
Yeah, I don't know why we keep hiring him, actually. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, folks, yes, we have, of course, our second map just around the corner. It is Lotus, and look, we have data on this one, Shift, okay? Last time these two teams went head-to-head, it was definitely an M80 favored map, but there were a few things, right? Sim had a pretty off game that time around. We did sort of see, TSM lose a pretty crucial pistol to allow M80 to get rolling on that defense side. And one thing that really stood out to me was that Xander was taking a lot of first contact and using that Omen, off TP in a way to try and sort of get some of these free picks and get around the map here. So it made him really good with their rotations in general on Lotus. And obviously the Sentinels don't hurt in that regard either.
And that's the other part about it is, like the desk was saying, this is going to feel like the exact opposite that TSM just played up against. You shouldn't figure to see Xander getting super aggressive, maybe a chance to get some early intel, but when you've got 3 Sentinels, you've got safety blankets all over the place just to kind of hold back, let the utility do the contact for you, and then make your decisions afterwards. That's, of course, realized more so when we have full weapons to purchase, as you can see M80 are realizing some contact towards A, so they will take a little bit of a peek over towards that front side of B pillars. Nothing to be seen there, so everything backs up, and we got the spy cam that will be able to alert this defense if there is an A hit.
This is a pretty cheeky cam position, actually. Not one of the most common. And clearly, Net hasn't really seen anybody push up past that demarcation line, we'll call it. And then we've got 3 players stacked towards that B side of the map here. It's going to have to be a one-way smoke over towards Baby Door to at least try and cut Xander out of the equation. They don't have any smokes.
Yeah, I love this from Nismo, too. He throws a very delayed barrier mesh, so he can lean towards B here and then have to fade back if he starts to hear shots. That barrier match is going to last for a while and even make matters worse. BCJ gets contact through the dark cover for first blood, and now TSM have to go A where this cam is waiting.
Damn spots out. Sim, who does get hit with the dart, so that's going to take even more time for TSM to get their ducks in a row here. Still, that's not enough to pull M80 off the B side, and that barrier mesh has gone down on C. This might be the only window you have to go to this C site now. It looks like, this is where TSM are going to end. Great fault line, and Nismo has to shake this off.
Yeah, they stay away from the grab net as well, so Nismo is in a little bit of trouble. Haunt over from the backside at Waterfall. There's a sensor to play off of. Time becoming an issue here, Mitch. They have to get on, find a spike plant.
Nismo got hit with every stun within a 5-mile radius and was still able to hang on there. The timing for BCJ, even though he goes down, is crucial. Fantastic grab net from Nismo.
I'm not even sure if the grab net hit maybe more than just one, but it's just the delay. And that's the biggest thing about this composition. We've seen it across a variety of maps, but here on this one in particular, it's the ability to delay for so long, because it does look like TSM, as soon as they lose that first blood at mid, they're saying, okay, let's just try to float over towards A. Spycam denies that. You don't want to fight through more Cypher utilities, so you try your hand over towards C. It's just, there's no good options anywhere when you can put a Sentinel on each of the sites early. It just creates so much deterrence towards early hits, and that was the thing that caused TSM to really suffer last time around. They could not get onto a site early. A couple of shots into Nismo, though, have TSM looking a little bit for an early C play.
Xander doesn't have anyone to play off of him right now. If TSM go now, they're going to be in a great position. Here they come, Sim. Looks like he was stunned up briefly, maybe by his own relay bolts. Unclear. Xander now has a beautiful timing. And look at everybody caught in the grab net. That is dirty work.
That's stupid.
The timing on this defensive util from Nismo last couple rounds has been above reproach.
It's just the fact that you could throw it from all the way back of C and land it right at the entryway. I mean, the radius that it encompasses, not just on the throwability of it, but also the area of effect once it lands, is redonkulous on this map. And that's what Xander's playing off of. He says, I got contact. Nismo says, bet. Have them hold this. And Xander says, thanks very much. It's just, it's so hard, because the only way you can really beat down this setup is to get there before the utility has an impact. The problem is, with 3 Sentinels, there's always utility that you have to deal with. It's just like, The only thing I can think of for TSM is you have to like force the square peg into the round hole and just force it. No matter how ugly it gets early, just try to break the early setup quickly. But obviously here in round number 3, the bonus is still looking decent for M80. They're even pushing a little bit further forward. They have C control over towards Mound early, and they could rotate their resources back over towards mid or A if they want. It's just so much to play off of.
Okay, shoulder peek there from Poise. Reveals Xander, who just deftly sidesteps the fault line. Pretty comfortable bonus round here. You'll notice that Koala Noob does have that judge. Can play in Baby Door, can play here in B main. Both pretty strong positions to play off of.
Oh,
BCJ, that is a rare thing to see. Punish on the shoulder peek by 7. Koala Noob needs to make up for this deficit, but look at the way TSM are jiggling this corner. They know he's waiting. Will that matter? The answer is absolutely bloody not. I'll take the gun. Thanks for coming.
and now he can rotate over to A if he needs to. Oh, gosh. Mitch, it's not good. It's not good right now if you're TSM. Wingman's going to get the plant. That's part of the job done, but Net is going to see everything. And now you know for a fact that they have to be playing this over towards stair side. The whole rotation's in. Dark cover gets placed. That's going to be enough to get the retake going with the paranoia to follow.
No late flank pressure, though, for M80. That is one thing they can hang their hat on. 7 here, looking for timing. Koala Noob is waiting for him, and it is down to Sim. M80 threatening to go on a run early on this Lotus defense side. And that is pretty squeaky clean for a bonus, folks.
We cannot let them.
That's about as good as it gets, Mitch. I don't know how else.
I mean, TSM have gotten 3 kills this map.
Yes, correct. I was about to go to the kill tally because I was about to say I don't think they have many, if more than 3. And no, it's just the 3. So Thrash available coming up, but it's just, again, I'm gonna have to pull out the Merriam-Webster thesaurus here because I don't know how many more ways to say it in terms of how do you break down a Sentinel at each of the sites with a composition that's meant to break timings. And it's tough because all the choke points are so thin, so things like barrier meshes, grav nets obviously find a lot of value, but then you add in things like a barrier orb, you can just block sites out completely. So that mixed with slow orbs, and of course what you get out of a Sentinel that everyone knows in Cypher, it's just there's so much ability to play off of a strong front line where reaction-based tactics work perfectly fine if you're the defense.
Some spam here comes out from the Odin. Koala Noob going to be inserted here towards Rubble, and he hears this movement. Now it's about finding a timing, and finally does. Slow Orb's going to exacerbate this further, and up at the wall! Okay, we're asking for a little much there, I think. Sim able to bring him down eventually. That wall will be broken up, and the A side is open now.
Yeah, the Guardian shot at range is everything, because now M80 have to get on their horse and make their way over just to try to contest this, which they may not really have an option to. The only bit of good news here for M80 is that they got the Thrash off the table by finding 7 in that exchange. But the problem is, they don't have many retake tools of their own, so they're just going to trust the fact that their shot is better, and the opening high-low stack onto Net works out for now 4v2, very comfortable post-play for TSM.
Nismo all the way across the map here, but M80 are playing with house money. TSM aware of that here, grouping up, hoping to hold on to it as many of these weapons as possible, but they're in a position to buy next anyway. Xander will simply hold this line. Nismo doing much the same. They're not invested in a defuse here so much as they are in some kills. Xander able to get back around the corner, and Nismo's able to deal with the proto. Time is short, but now TSM are running low on numbers. Oh, it's just Poise left. He's going for it now. The defuse comes in. Poise has to know about it. Xander punishes him. The time, they've done it with 1.5 seconds left. That is not around. They were even trying to win.
And I think you hit it on the head, though, again here, Mitch. For TSM, they know that their options are limited in terms of what they can do for their post plant, do the weapons that they have, so you're stacking everyone at tree. No one's even mindful of the flank from Nismo. I'm pretty sure he gets one for free without anyone even taking shots back at him. And then as soon as that happens, the isolation from the front just leads to what kind of eliminations can we find? And this one from Xander is everything, because he was dead to rights. But doesn't make a difference. The relay bolt connects. He still hits the head without even seeing his target. It's just one of those things where M80 can do no wrong. And now you got Koala Noob with an early operator in round 5 trying to foil the timing of TSM again. And he is just not missing.
That is absurd. Annihilation not connecting here, but Koala Noob knows that Sim's on the other side of the wall.
Stop it.
This is not a fair fight. This is an extinction event. Kimon has to back away here from Mound. And the wall is going to make sure he doesn't get to the spike. Not without making it very obvious what he's trying to do. TSM are getting absolutely pumped.
I mean, wow. Flat out wow. And it's another one of those rounds where it's just Koala hitting shots, man. Changes everything for what I believe is our third blacklight flawless from the M80 defensive side. And now you've got TSM on a save round with some ultimates. Sure, like you surely will see the overdrive from Sim here, most likely. And to be fair, you want to try to, build up some hope, try to build the hero story. The idea of doing like a Thrash with the finger guns, with the Rolling Thunder, not the worst news ever in terms of kill potential. Kind of reduces the gap that's in the weaponry status, but it's just the fact that nothing is working here for TSM, and M80 are now starting to feel confident enough for Koala to get aggressive with an operator. Just adds another element in the mix that I just don't know how you deal with it for TSM without spending expensive utility. That's the problem. You have to use an early fault line, use an early dizzy, which is going to show your hand and slow down your initial explosive potential of being able to hit without giving away much. It's just, man, it's tough scenes right now for TSM.
Let's be clear here. Typically, the attack side of this map is where you really want to make the most of your inroads, most of your rounds up, especially if you're playing a composition that resembles TSM's. Because on defense, they're going to be pulled pretty thin. They do at least have that fast rotate potential that Neon offers you. But they really need to be finding some inroads here, and they've been shut down. Their last round was just disrespectful from M80. Koala Noob jumping up on the wall with a shorty, getting rid of Sim. I mean, the fact that he's playing out at Mound, which, by the way, if he doesn't hit the shot, he needs to throw a wall and try and run away.
Yep.
I mean, M80 just committed to fighting there. They do not care.
Well, the other thing about that is Andrew is part of that, so he's got the ability to throw paranoia to help Quality get out. So it's just, again, the ability to layer off of this, again, very passive utility is still very strong for M80. So now the question for TSM is, how do you start to get any sort of entryway going? Because to the moment, they have not found success anywhere on the map except for the round today where they dropped the 4v2 post plan. So tough scenes right now for TSM, and this is what I'm talking about. You've got to use the fault line, you've got to use the dizzy, and that stops the ability for them to kind of surprise and explosively hit towards this site, because the defense can just hang back and say, cool, we don't really care that you've got mound control. They still have a cam in place for it.
They can throw them out on like a 30-second timing, right? But that's not great. Doesn't put them in a position to really have any other options. So here's the fast lane Thrash coming to the site. Look at how much respect that's being offered by Xander. Full retake protocols here now for M80, which is arguably not where their composition is its strongest.
True.
But they have to, back off from these big ultimates, and Poise is still holding onto that Rolling Thunder.
Really, at this moment, you've got all of BCJ's kit. That's what they're looking for. And he gets a kill, so now he can Nightfall for the retake. This is just not good news. There's the Nightfall. Here comes the full flood.
Door open now. GravNet doesn't catch anyone, but it doesn't matter because M80 are just shooting. Got the better weapons here. And that's the kind of round that they can exacerbate that advantage in a big way. That is 6 rounds in a row. Again, TSM doing relatively little outside of picking up Nismo, despite getting into a post-plant setup. Completely broken down. That Odin from BCJ hasn't gone awry either. That's been crucial.
And it's just another power weapon on the table where it's just like, how do we battle with that now? Because you can spam through smokes for free. It's just, wow. Absolute wow right now. I mean, we've at least pulled a second hand up to count total fingers in terms of kills that TSM have, so they've got that going for them. And they still have a Rolling Thunder to play with here with full weapon buy. But this is a must-win. And not only that, the round after is going to be a must-win as well, because M80 are still very comfortable with what economy they've built. Plus, they've even got some key ultimates at the ready as well. So it's got to be something, and I like this from TSM. Again, use your utility early, collect, try to spend it again. BCJ will be pushed out from tree, which even makes this a little bit more comfortable in terms of TSM committing to get onto A.
Xander's in position here at A, and TSM have to expect that. They pinged drop here, so they do know there's going to be an extra player. I think they're really fancy trying to get themselves into a post plant at Glen, but are they in a position to pivot towards B? I don't think so. Proto just called it clear, but they are committed coming through tree and not towards stairs. Nat can also be a problem from this position. And Koala wins out on that B side like he's just done. This could be painful again for the attackers.
I was about to say Koala Noob saw him before he could get all the way through. So now BCJ on the dark cover. Yep. Just bullet hose it. Prowler's out. That will land. Sim drops. And
this is
wow.
Not real.
Blacklight is getting their money's worth on this sponsorship pull, because this is going to be another flawless here if Poise doesn't find a kill.
Then you know what? TSM could use a Blacklight, and also the whole forensics team to figure out what the heck happened. Time of death, round 7, folks. Brutal. Another one given up by TSM. Again, they get the plant down, but the retake from M80 is too good.
Bro. And that round looks a lot different if a Proto doesn't get seen by Koala Noob, who is deep over towards pillars at one point in time, but as he starts to come back towards mid, he does see, I think, the shoulder of a Proto, who, honestly, if he just doesn't get seen, his timing would have been perfect because you had forward ropes control from TSM's offense, so he doesn't have to go quickly. He can just stop the defenders from rotating around the back through stair side, and then he can eventually pin up whoever defensively is in the backside of A, but again, the small windows come through perfectly for M80. Koala Noob gets the intel, the kills come through perfectly, and now you're dealing with desperation mode here for TSM as they look towards mid for the first time, and wouldn't you know it, there's sensors already set up for it.
Yeah, fast hit will be impossible here. TSM would like to get in behind some of this util, no doubt. Is that Rolling Thunder? Koala Noob is definitely disoriented here, but Xena finds the opener once more. And guess what? That's the spike. Nobody else to play off of it. There's so much util to deny that fast push for Simon. His team didn't even follow him in. They couldn't.
I mean, this is going to feel like head meet wall right now. They are trying to just head bash anything they can. And the only team who's really held a candle to this setup was Oxygen when they played M80 on this. Everyone else has been beat up by this, and you can see exactly why.
I mean, this is like Groundhog Day if you only had a hangout at the Gallows scheduled. You are doing it over and over again.
Yeah.
We were able to recover the spike at the very least here. I want to point that out. Kimon's able to ult onto it, pick it up. Koala Noob here can step into this location. The general nuisance boys pulls out and he's baited it. Nicely done. 7 able to capitalize here. But the spike is no closer to being planted. Now we've got TSM grouped up. With 23 seconds left, they've got to decide where they're ending.
Good flash coming through. VCT also takes damage, but you can still spam this corner and...
I'm done. I'm actually done.
Yep.
I mean, look, and that's what the Odin does for you, right? It really punishes shoulder peaks, of course. You can spray those corners. And by that point in the round, like M80 know where TSM have to end. They know they're grouped up over towards Mound and they're not pressuring that C side. Great call there for BCJ just to go for that spray down. And this has been the closest to a perfect game I've seen all year in Challengers. And happens today, on the day of my daughter's wedding. The day of the Challengers Grand Finals. This is what M80 is showing us.
Yeah, it's... Well, M80 was always, we always looked at them as being one of the major threats, if not the favorite going into this year, especially considering the grueling battle that they had last year, time and time again, facing up against what we like to call their rivals in the guard. But it felt like this was the year that M80 has to play recovery. And boy, have they ever. A couple of struggles here and there where we're like, ooh, are they going to be able to figure out this meta in time to like be significant for the playoffs, especially with Abyss coming into the mix so late? But doesn't make a difference. I mean, they've taken Bind off the table. You've added a third Sentinel to this composition over the last couple of times that they've played it, and there has not been an answer from just about anyone, with the only exception being Oxygen.
And I'll be honest, two of your superstars on TSM, Gimon and a Proto, are not able to get into the game yet. Sim also struggling with a nasty ear infection, so the deck is stacked against TSM here. And over the last couple of rounds, we've seen that play out. They don't even have a good buyer coming into this one. And M80 have that generational Bezos-level wealth to lean on.
I'll tell you this much, though, Mitch. After watching this composition or something similar on Haven essentially be uncounterable, Deadlock, you better enjoy your time on Deadlock, friends, because something's going to happen to Deadlock in the next major patch to reduce maybe the potency of the GravNet. I think that's the biggest thing, is the fact you can throw it so far and it encompasses such a large area. With barrier mesh, it's like anything else, you know, like a barrier orb, it's the same way. You have to destroy it, not the end of the world, but it feels like the GravNet's been kind of the issue. And here we go. Maybe an opportunity for TSM to kind of just stack, but this is the problem, is that you can still just hold down the trigger with an Odin on a corner, and it works.
Yeah, and the confidence there from Nismo, of course, knows that they just got that better weaponry, the trip, and then the sonic sensor. That's the triple Sentinel comp for you folks. A Proto just bows his head and lets it happen. For Nismo, just strutting around inside the B site.
You can nerf the character if you want to. Can't nerf Nismo from finding 3 like that. I mean, wow.
And again, all these kills off center util, right?
Yes.
BCJ off a trip. I think that trip never got destroyed because Sim ends up sliding through, gets caught by it, gets out. And then the sonic sensor takes that second wave of follow-up down. I mean, I don't think, like, You cannot be playing fast hits against this amount of Sentinel utility, but TSM haven't really been able to play this slow game either. They're struggling to get info, and sometimes they're getting caught in trap plays, especially with these Odin.
Well, that's the thing is, and maybe you have to throw another initiator into the mix. Like, I just don't know how else you can bait out the utility, because M80 can just place it and forget about it. I mean, that's 90% of what this composition is throw it, forget it. So it's so tough to find an answer towards it. And now you're going to try to get isolation onto Nismo, but there is no isolation for Nismo. The Gravnet's also down. Annihilation's out later. Thanks for playing. Seven doesn't want to take it down because he knows he's got to keep his life. Not going to be able to do that either. And I'm out of things to break down. There is no more color commentary for this match.
But I mean, fair enough. I mean, you're playing off that Cypher Cam there to get a basically free Gravnet. By the way, mobility is Sim's whole deal. He's unable to break the crosshair placement without it. Gets caught there, and Nismo was very comfortable. And then throws out the Annihilation, knows there's two players, so it's virtually a free kill. And even if it wasn't, it forces Seven to spray down at the Cocoon, which is very easy for Nismo to swing it and take that player down as well. Seven had no choice but to look on. A solo, you cannot shoot that Cocoon.
I don't know if they make whiteboards big enough to theory craft responses to this. Like, I don't know what you do. And the thing about it is, like, the ISO setup, the ISO deadlock on Haven, I'm in the same boat. It's like, I don't know how you play up against that. It just feels like it's kind of like the only way to do it is to play it yourself. And hope that you steal away a pistol round more than your opponent, because this is about as convincing as it gets. And we're going to get a 10-0 start with only, I don't even know if anyone's even close to double-digit kills yet for TSM.
I don't think so. Maybe 6 or 7. But it's been very, very difficult. This has been one of the better rounds here for TSM. I want to point that out, but most of those kills have come in junk time. 5 for Poise. That's as good as it gets. Thrash here to play off at the very least, but BCJ continues to be oppressive. I mean, he knocked Poise down to about 45 HP. Also ripped all of Seven's armor off right at the start of the round there, just playing off the horn and any of the pings from that M80 utility. And like TSM, I can't blame them for this. I think their first timeout, though, came in sort of round 8. So it took them a fair while to sort of be ready to discuss how best to break this comp.
I don't know. It might just be you just have to play it yourself and hope you win more pistols at this rate. And we've seen that a lot here in playoffs. We saw it on Haven. We even saw comps like that on Sunset. Where it's just like, I don't know how you beat this. Flat out. Chance to overwhelm Nismo here. He's going to drop a deep barrier mesh, just forcing the hand of this hit for TSM. If it does step into sight, to have to go through the sensors, which is not what you want. And that's enough for TSM to at least pull a couple. I mean, you get the barrier mesh out. You spend 3 pieces of utility, initiating utility, just to have Nismo drop his barrier mesh. That's all that's happened in all that.
Brief amendment, TSM have no timeouts left, so they'd already used they'd used both of them via round 8. So it's not as if they haven't really tried to figure this out, but they've been knocking their head into a brick wall. And, well, that's a good metaphor for what Gimond would be attempting, were he to try and step up on that C site. Meanwhile, eyes over to A, the side of the map which is much less of this util, but Koala Noob is in a position to be a real nuisance here.
The Mosh
taking a bit of damage.
Yeah, the Mosh gives some damage, but the problem is they think that's enough to flush him out of position, and it's not the case. So, again, you can see what TSM's trying to do. They're trying to say, hey, look at us, we're going C. Never mind, we're going A.
30
and
seconds
M80's like, cool, well, we just don't care. Like, we've got everything set up perfectly. And now it's just going to go from bad to worse.
It's just stunning timing. Nismo might throw a Gravnet to stop the follow-up here. He's still going to be caught from this detainee. I don't think there's anyone to play off this unless Net. Oh, Net. Okay, nice little swing to the left-hand side. Gimon might have some step to this now. Takes Net down. It would have been 1v3. It would have been a huge ask, and that is the 11th round coming up for M80, and it truly is the 11th hour for TSM.
Oh, yeah.
What can they do to put something on the board with a buy that, frankly, is far from exciting?
Oh, when you put it like that, it's just, the only way to maybe to beat this comp is to throw 3 initiators at it. I think that's the only thing you could possibly do, just so you have more utility to try to stretch out M80 a bit. But like I said, it's just like, even right then, you throw early utility to drop the barrier mesh at C, and Nismo's like, cool, whatever. Then you try to go back to A, but the defense has already pushed up the map. It's just, I don't know how you can't just flat out beat the timings of this, I don't think. Not with this composition, at least.
Cover going out.
Xander here, huddled up on this A site. Wingman is going to get things started here. Once again, M80, want to play for that sort of retake, but look at this penetration towards stairs. I love this spot from Gimon. Okay. Off angle there allows him to deal a death blow to BCJ. put Nismo and Qualnoom in a position where they have to group up and they just win that draw in this economy. Poise is in trouble via stairs, but he and Sim are able to stand up now. Makes it a 3 versus 3. There it is. The Proto finally seeing some action there with that Sheriff. Burnett makes it a 2 versus 2. Time a little bit short. A Proto had that ultimate. Burnett finds the timing to swing on him. It's going to be Poise versus BCJ in a 1 versus 1. The best player for TSM this map needs to do a heck of a lot, but time is on his side. Fault line thrown out, ready to take that challenge, and it gets BCJ through the box. A Zippo clutch for TSM. Their solitary attacking round on Lotus.
Switching sides.
Wow. Something out of nothing, it feels like. And again, I think that's the only real major option is, we said this like back like pre-round 5, is you just got to force the square peg in the round hole and know that you're going to go into site. You're going to take a 5v2, most likely on one of the 2 sites. Maybe you don't trade out efficiently, but try to set yourself up in the best possible 3-man post plant that you possibly can. And that was kind of linchpin for success there. So at least something on the board here for TSM, but like we said in map number 1, they've got to win the pistol, they've got to win the follow-up, and honestly, they probably need to win the bonus as well for us to start talking about the word comeback.
Absolutely. To be fair, their pistol rounds have been pretty good, all things considered, with the exception of that first round here on Lotus, which didn't exactly get them on the strongest footing.
Camera taken out.
Oh yeah, it's a long, long climb back to the summit here.
And for TSM, I just don't, like, what is the identity of this defense going to look like? Because you don't have to play proactively, because the 3 Sentinels, just based on what their role is kind of labeled as, should struggle a bit in terms of initiating onto site. But will that make a difference when you've got things like 2 Prowlers and a Haunt that could get some good separation on these sites? That's what M80 is going to try to use. And if they do get the spike down, then you're in the same problem that you were from the first half of how do we break down the retake with 3 Sentinels that can litter the site with utility.
Is that stair smoke now? Sim has a quick peek prior and actually gets some free damage on Xander. Good signs, but in general, it's a pretty lightly held A site. And they're going to pivot off this to B. This should all be heard by Poised. And there'll be help from Link here now. Nice. I like the use of the aftershock here. Can you play off of it? Kimon has a flank timing, and oh, they're all hit by that Dizzy. 4 players blinded up. And it's up to net.
Yeah, really well done.
30 seconds left.
I think, you know, again, we're just in pistols. This isn't going to be exactly what M80 are going to try to do. But I think it's a good idea in terms of what we're likely going to see is you got to just flood it. You have to play off of whatever a Prowler, a Haunt, or Paranoia can bring, because that is the only real separation you have, unless you can get like a deep grab net in. But honestly speaking, it's going to have to be floods for M80. Try to take TSM off guard and play a 5v odd man situation. So good understanding here for TSM, knowing about the rewrap back through small, and then you just follow up. You get aggressive on one side, you completely pinch them up, and now you've got yourself what should be a very comfortable anti-eco.
Yeah, should be pretty straightforward here. And again, like, you know, talking about how M80 wins rounds on the attack side, I think is really important because, like we sort of talked about, yeah, their post plant's very good, but they're contacting everything because they have a Paranoia. That is the only thing that resembles a flash. I guess maybe Prowler if it hits. That is all they are working with.
The only issue to all of this and kind of talking about the potential of TSM kind of gaining favor here is the fact that in the 3 times that M80 have played offense with this composition, their worst attacking half was 5.
Yes.
Which is obviously more than enough to get to 13. So it definitely starts with these first 3 for TSM. You have to win this, have to win your bonus, and then who knows from there in terms of how do you beat up this M80 stack? It feels like you have to get proactive towards one side of the map or the other and force the funnel on your terms. Is it going to do they have to flood through B? Do they have to flood through A? It doesn't make much of a difference as long as you can control where your opponent is moving.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. You really need to get some trap plays going, ideally, and just abuse the fact that Sim can rotate so quickly.
Yes.
It's good from Gimon here. B is going to be under extreme scrutiny. And M80, of course, are looking at damage. It's a pretty audacious buy from TSM. They've really gone for it with 2 Vandals being picked up. I think they're going to be just fine as Sim's forced to back away. Xander at least gets purchased there. Hang on. 2 versus 3, and that might have been 2 decent weapons recoverable. At least the Vandal here for Xander.
And Proto's in a key spot. Slow Orb, does push him off the angle. I thought he may just hold the corner for a moment, but doesn't have a look at the spike anymore. So that will be collected, tries to be planted, but here come the numbers forward.
You're kidding. Xander has no armor here. Bear that in mind. Wingman just bounces off the wall harmlessly. Okay, 2 versus 1 now. Gimon has to salvage this. Oh no, Xander with the ace to bring up the 12th round for thrifty as it gets, by the way. They come in with classics. Disgusting.
It's the best team in Challengers.
Plot armor, my friend.
Yeah. Poor wingman, by the way. That's
Just bounces off the wall. That does not make any sense. Ridiculous stuff. Remember, and that's because they collapse on Sim. I think they're in like a 2 versus 4 at that point. Pick up the Vandal. He has no armor. Xander's 100 HP in a dream.
And the thing about it was TSM did essentially what we called about. You know, they take over some space over towards C. They force the hit to have to be into B. Sure, there's a moment where the plant looks likely, but they stop that from happening. It looks like mission accomplished. And then it's just the individual skill for M80 that takes over thanks to the weapons collected because of that flood. And now TSM are in full purchase mode for the rest of the game.
You're dead right. Now forcing over and over and over. Look at this. Is this the Lotus curry spot being taken up here? That is so dirty.
Shut up.
M80 sit back in their spawn and they wait for TSM to contact up for information. And that has to be it.
Yeah.
Sim falls over there. You know, it's been a tough day for him. I mean, not feeling 100%, of course, but this is a real back and spirit breaker of a game. Now it's TSM in a 2v5 to stay alive.
And they're just going to try to gamble A, and the hit's going C. And there's no way that a Stinger and a Vandal with just a Wingman and a... What is that? Yeah, just a Wingman and a Dizzy are going to break down a barrier orb, a barrier mesh, 2 sensors, full trap wire cyber
and a
cage
partridge
setup.
in a bloody pear tree.
Dude, for real. It's more than a laundry list.
Well, every climb starts with the first step, even if it is a gaping chasm that awaits you around the corner that's shrouded by mist and you don't see and just fall into it. The fact is, he steps outside your house that day and you should be commended for it. 7 here, of course, has to navigate this sheer ice wall. Proto gets in though, deals with Net. He was sitting in the back of the site. While Nubo has a nice little off-angle can challenge this. Yep, straight over the wall, deals with 7 and a Proto. The last man standing for TSM there, hopes of a better seeding dash. And that is a $10,000 game going the way of M80, your North American Challengers champions.
Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And that is more than a statement. You got to give a lot of credit to TSM. I mean, not to sit here and, dissuade the conversation, which is M80 look unbelievable. But for TSM to make that kind of a run, unreal stuff. The composure from a team that we, again, I think have labeled largely off of the simple fact of, why is this team not working? On paper, the roster looks great. They just need to figure it out. And eventually they do. The only team that they lose to is this M80 squad. And that composition that we just saw is going to be giving anyone an issue. So massive congrats to M80 and for TSM, of course, still a chance to fight through Ascension. Brilliant series, though, from M80.
Yeah, absolutely. No better way to show that you are Ascension ready than that performance there from M80. What a statement. I'm sure there'll be more choice statements to be made, this time from our panel of experts as we head to the desk to break down this series, this grand final that really didn't go out with a roar so much as a whimper as far as TSM are concerned.
I mean, guys, let's be real. What is there to really break down other than M80 are looking really scary right about now? And with the composition that they've run a few times, there's tape. We've gotten to see other teams kind of unlock this a little bit more, Vans. Yeah. But you would think on the day that, I don't know, they didn't really seem like TSM had any answer. They let 11 rounds go by before any sort of fight coming out.
It definitely looked like you're going into this grand finals saying, hey, at least we made Mexico. It doesn't really matter what happens right now in this game, and let's just have fun with it. But it definitely looked like they weren't having any fun at all on how they were playing their attack side here for TSM. I thought, again, when we were prefacing this last series or this last map, that you needed to see TSM be a little bit more aggressive on the defensive side, but I didn't expect for M80 to just win 11 rounds straight and barely play any rounds on the attack to actually see how we could counter this triple sentinel play here from M80.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a sickening performance. This is just, when they came up with this comp and they were drawing out like, well, we could do this, and these are our different options on defense, and they're thinking about how it could all work. Everything they conceived came to reality. It worked perfectly in this game. Better than the first time they went up against TSM. Again, dominating in the first kill department and looking like a dominant champion of NA Challengers. They were the team that a ton of people predicted coming into the season that would be making Ascension in most people's top 2. And for a while, it didn't look like they would get there.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a very tumultuous going for them all year, but things ended up as we kind of thought they would. M80 are the dominant winners of NA Challengers for 2024.
Not gonna lie, definitely I was one of those people that kind of like just jumped ship after looking and witnessing the couple of games that happened in the first split when, you know, M80 was still trying to figure things out. But then most recently, ever since they're coming out with these crazy comps, or not necessarily crazy, but thinking outside of the box and not always playing full meta, they've been looking a lot better.
I mean, yeah, if you weren't on board with this M80 train right about now, there's still time to be hopping on before Ascension because, yeah, they're looking pretty scary right about
Punch my
now.
ticket in.
Well, welcome back, fans. Welcome back. As for us, we are going to have an interview up shortly. Enjoy the post-series highlights. We'll be right back.
One enemy remaining. One enemy remaining. Flawless.
Well, they're taking down this series 2-0. They made it to Ascension. They're stage 2 champions. Seems like there's nothing M80 can't do right now. Good time to be an M80 fan. On the line, I have Nismo to chat a little bit more about all the success that M80 has seen lately. Congratulations on this win. I think a statement game, too, to just really be ending things off before Ascension. How are you and the team feeling right now? Because this has been kind of an up and down split.
I mean, everyone's feeling good. You know, everyone's happy. Back-to-back champions in 2 years. Obviously, we failed to win in Ascension, so right now the goal is, we know that the job's not done, so we have to focus on what's coming up. That's going to be in Mexico, Ascension. So everyone is feeling good, but again, the job's not done. This was just one part of it, and we know there's a second part, and we're already ready for it, and we're going to keep working hard for it.
Definitely excited to hear that. There is one question that I really want to talk about kind of going back to this series, and that's this Lotus composition. This is now the fourth time we've gotten to see it in playoffs. This composition, I still think, is just absolutely nuts. And we really saw that TSM didn't have too much of an answer going on for it. Do you think that it's kind of a composition that others will start picking up on, they'll be respected more, or do you think that the composition just kind of clears like too much?
I mean, to be honest with you, it is a strong composition. As long as you have a game plan, as long as you guys play together and there's good setups, it's a comp that people don't practice against. So we know that the second we play people in matches, it's the first time they play that comp, and it's just so hard to deal with. It's like the Ascent comp that people saw with Deadlock. It was so hard to deal with already. Now imagine a third Sentinel that you have to deal with. So I think some teams will pick it up because in scrims we've been even smacking tier 1 teams in it. So I think it's a very strong comp.
Glad to hear that, especially too. I think that's already kind of looking good for Ascension of smacking some of those tier 1 teams around, because obviously that's where eyes are set on next. So
yeah,
I want to talk about you, specifically you being able to go back and kind of play on that stage because of M80, of course. So close last year to be able to close it out. How are you feeling now about chances going into this year with how dominant this last stretch has been?
I mean, obviously, everyone is pretty confident. We know that we got the tools to win. We got the coaching staff to win, especially the players. To be honest with you, everyone's been playing lights out. So we have a very strong team. And again, job's not done. Just got to make sure that we're not getting complacent, making sure we're still working hard for it. And yeah, we're confident. We got the experience. We know how to deal with this tournament. And we know the type of teams that are already coming up against us. We know how they work. So this is good for us.
Definitely glad to hear. One last thing. I know that in particular having some words for the haters and the doubters out there. Do you think the performance throughout this last stretch of playoffs is enough to kind of convince people like, yeah, no, M80, like put some respect there?
I mean, deep inside, I know that a lot of people know who we are, and maybe we had a rough start, you know. We needed to change some things. We did a little changes here and there. We fixed all our little issues that we had. But everyone deep inside kind of knew that we had the roster, that the second we pick it up, the second our confidence comes back, that we were just going to keep on rolling, and that's exactly what's happening. And we're just starting rolling all the way to the championship, and we take the W here in NA, so it's good.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to just keep on rolling, get that Ascension, get on to VCT Americas. Congratulations again on this win.
Thank you.
Best of luck going on forward. Have a good rest of your night weekend, okay?
Thank you very much, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, as for us, back over to our analysts for one last time to be wrapping up the day. I mean, yeah, we're talking about good time to be an M80 fan, but I mean, the team's feeling confident. Things are really, really clicking, Vans. This is definitely a team that you should really be looking at potentially winning this Ascension. The performance today, I think, just kind of sealed the deal there.
100%, and it's also a roster that definitely feels good out of this win. I think winning, as Nismo just mentioned, winning Challengers is one thing, but Ascension is going to be the main goal. But just finally seeing that, you know, they find the confidence. Net's coming back with a vengeance as well, out from the guard / G2, and has a chance to prove himself again, to make it back into partnership for another time. It means a lot for these guys to really make it into not only Ascension, but come back with a vengeance and come back with strength with this decisive victory that they've just gotten here against TSM.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the players on this team, it's been known and is still known that they are absolutely partnership quality contenders. It's always been a fact, and they prove it yet again this year. And like, you know, y'all said, it's just about actually now qualifying in Monterey later this year.
I mean, definitely don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if they're playing anything like they played during this last little stretch of things, I think all the other teams better watch out. Unfortunately, that is it for our competition today. Thank you to our analysts, casters, production for being awesome, and thank you all so much at home for tuning in. We'll see you soon. We'll see you at Ascension, but until then, enjoy your summer.
The game starts long before the game starts. And warm hands are faster hands. Gain the upper hand and power up your pregame warm-up with Zippo hand warmers.